So it was a real pleasure at Albuquerque Zine Fest 2025, which was just in October of 2025. I picked up a new zine from a couple ladies who live here in Albuquerque. Jessica Mills writes Yard Wide Yarns, and then Ziola B wrote this Brush Your Teeth with Whiskey. They put out this zine together, and it's a split zine, which means you read it in one direction, and then you flip it over and you read it in the other direction, which is a very 90s style of doing zines. It's two zines for the price of one. And this is stories about two ladies that went hitchhiking and train hopping back in the 90s. This is an old school feeling zine, but it came out just this year, which is really, really cool and exciting. And when I read it, I thought, this would be a great zine to feature on my new YouTube channel here. So I asked a couple friends to read a copy of it and see what they think, and we had a little discussion about it. So if you don't mind, let's take a moment, talk about Brush Your Teeth with Whiskey and Yard Wide Yarns number 24. Hello and welcome to Let's Take a Moment. We have a second episode here. We have Crystal and Liz who did the first episode, and we were talking about Missy's zine in the first episode, so I thought it would be fun to have Missy be a part of the second episode. So maybe if each of you want to quickly introduce and say what zines you write.
Hi, I'm Crystal Radicus, and I write Weirdo du Jour, Honorary Cuss, and a bunch of other stuff too.
Hi, my name is Liz Mason. I do zines like Caboose, Cul-de-sac, Awesome Things, and some other things as well.
My name is Missy Kulik, and I do a zine called The Secret Picnic Spot.
Very nice, very nice. If you haven't seen our first video, go back and watch that one. Today we're going to be talking about a split zine. It's called Brush Your Teeth with Whiskey on one side, and then Yard Wide Yarns number 24 on the other side. This just came out in October of 2025, so pretty brand new. And we've all read it, and we're here to discuss it tonight. So, opening statements, what was the general impression of the zine?
I thought it was really interesting because train hopping is a culture that I've never participated in. So it was really interesting to hear about other people's experiences with it.
And I thought the theme, when I opened it up, I thought, oh, this theme, train hopping, seems super 90s. Little did I know that it is their journals. I think both of the women from the 90s. So it kind of took me back.
I
Not,
absolutely loved this zine. I've never been train hopping before, and I haven't read a split zine in a long time. So the theme was great. It was very well written by both ladies. Yeah, I enjoyed it quite a bit.
I liked that it was really like these are people that just jumped in, like full in, like no holds barred, and like that is so not how I am. So it was really fascinating to see other people be like, yeah, we just decided to do our honeymoon, like, you know, just seeing where hitchhiking and train hopping takes us. And I do love that they were very honest about like, this part was kind of uncomfortable, this part was fun. It was real, it was very enlightening for me.
Missy, have you had any experience hitchhiking or train hopping?
not train hopping. Hitchhiking, yes, once. Which I did draw a cartoon of it. I'll have to share it with y'all. But I was gonna say, not to change the subject about my hitchhiking, but um, I felt afraid and nervous reading it too because the one scene, I forget which side it was on, but they said one of the people grabbed them and like hoisted them up and into the train, into the freight car. And I just felt like, oh no, I think I would like drop something or leave my bag behind and I would be nervous about that because I guess I kind of like creature comforts or my routine maybe a little bit more than these people. Also, I'm from Pennsylvania, so we would always have to watch the videos about train safety. And so I think seeing that and then reading this, and I'm talking like grade school is when we were shown these videos. That's why I think another part of me got nervous for them.
Yeah, I thought it was very interesting. All the narratives that I've ever read about train hopping, almost all of them have been written by guys. And so not only was it not just that it was one woman, it was two different women. Like that was like also like I would be really nervous about my own safety. And I love that they were like, yeah, like, so then we just, did these illicit things and like whatever, sex, drugs, train hopping, whatever, like I was like, wow, it kind of brought it home for me. Like, I am a very much into creature comforts, just like you, Missy. And also like I am a wuss. I don't know that I could ever bring myself to be like, like, yeah, I woke up, I can't even account for my evening, like that kind of stuff. I was like, wow, these people are like rock stars. Cause like, and it just kind of showed me like how like sort of tame my life is.
Yeah, it was interesting, I thought, because it's two different stories, but they definitely have similarities. Both written by women, both taking place in the 90s. And even though it's a recent zine, it has, since it partially because it took place in the 90s, but it has like a 90s feel. Like I think in the 90s I read like a ton of zines about train hopping.
Yeah, I definitely felt like there were things in it that were sort of because of the time that we live in now, this kind of experience would have been drastically different. Like you would be able to contact people if you were train hopping and you also happen to have a smartphone, because I could see how you might be into that and maybe just be like not have a phone or maybe be a flip phone person or whatever. But in the event that this happened now and you happen to be someone doing these activities and you had a smartphone, it would be a very different type of activity. You wouldn't have the experience like one of them talked about that was like, yeah, then I was like with this guy, like, and then he like, I don't know, we like lost track of each other and then we like ended up somewhere else where we both just happened to meet up. Like that's less likely to happen now because we're all so electronically interconnected. And that is a very sort of pre, millennium experience. And I did appreciate that very much.
Yeah, it's fun to read the hitchhiking and train hopping stories, but it's also fun to read about stuff that, a little bit of a time capsule.
Yeah, and also, um, I mean, I know this is a little bit of a spoiler, but um, one of the writers talked about like it kind of ended with like, and then I found out I was pregnant. And I mean, and it was a good thing. Like they wanted that to happen, but it was like, wow, like what an ending. And like it does also both of these stories were had like a to be continued things on them. So like, 5 stars would recommend, would read next issue of
Yeah.
both.
I want to ask real quick because it was a split zine and I'm sort of curious, which side did you all read first?
I read Brush Your Teeth with Whiskey first. I don't know why, I just thought that title was hilarious, and it ended up being my favorite half too. I really do love the Yard Wide Yarns. But they're two, I mean, they're similar, but they're very different. Yard Wide Yarns is like a travel log, and they did a lot more hiking and camping in like state parks, where Brush Your Teeth with Whiskey just sort of like jumps in like, it was supposed to be a weekend trip with my roommate, and we're stuck in a Memphis hotel for a week, and so we did this, and we did there's doesn't seem to be like a plan with Brush Your Teeth with Whiskey. Maybe there was, but they just were just sort of going with the flow, and that really spoke to me. Like both of these ladies like went on very unconventional adventures, and when it hit the to be continued part for both of them, when they ended, like they are obviously starting some other very unconventional adventures. Would totally read both of these again. I've actually reached out to both of the authors at this point and wanted to trade some zines with them and be pen pals because I loved this thing so much.
Missy, which side did you read first?
I read Yard Wide Yarns first, because I think I've read her zine before, and I don't know if I met her at a zine fair, and I'm talking 90s too. So I read that one first, and then Brush Your Teeth with Whiskey. And I will say I did enjoy them both for different reasons. I agree with the things Crystal said. And I was just wondering, because they left them both so wide open at the end, if they were both still train hopping in the present.
Yeah,
Um,
I started with Yard Wide Yarns too. Yeah. Sorry, Billy, didn't mean to interrupt you.
no, 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 that's okay. Go ahead.
Okay.
Was there a reason you started with Yardbird Yarns, or you just happened to pick a side?
I just picked a side. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I appreciated, in an era of like zines that have lots of visuals, and I do love those, that this was like there was plenty of text. Like it took me a while to read, took me more than one night. Like I was like, that's a delight, you know. So I did appreciate that. I think also that one of them, the yard wide yarns, which was the train hopping and hitchhiking honeymoon side, that had photo. It felt more like in some ways like first person journalism, only because it had photos, whereas the other side had drawings. Which so brush your teeth with whiskey had drawings, which gave it kind of a different feel, and which kind of made sense with that one too, because there was more like partying, shall we say?
Yeah, they're both definitely text heavy. Crystal called the yard wide half a travel log. I think that's like a really perfect description. It is just like almost day by, I mean, it's day by day. Here's what happened, and this happened, and and the other one is kind of like remembering a crazy night that she doesn't totally seem to remember. So the Yard Wide Yarns, it's a honeymoon, so it's two people that got married and they're off on this adventure together. And then on Ziola's side, um, she's like on her own, and so she teams up with some people for a while, but they definitely have a different feel because this is two people having an adventure, and this is one person having an adventure.
Yeah, I was really interested in the married couple only because if you have never traveled with someone that you and then you're married to them and that's the first time you travel together and then you don't travel well together, that can be a bad situation. So I was sort of curious about that. But also I liked how there was a lot of like admitting that like, oh, I know I was being such a baby about this, but it was so uncomfortable to like sleep on a rock or whatever. Like I actually sort of appreciated that. Like there was not a lot of machismo, you know? Like I wonder if when people write about this type of like subversive subculture experience, I wonder if there might be the temptation when you're writing about it to be like, it was really fun. It was really cool. And not want to talk about the parts where you're sort of your human tendencies or whatever come to the forefront. Like I appreciated that there was a lot of honesty about like, it was cold, it was wet. I was not thrilled with the situation, Like I appreciated that.
Yeah, I liked reading the everyday, like, oh, I brushed my teeth and then we did this, like just the mundane stuff. But I also feel like as soon as I opened it and I was reading, oh, it's about train hopping and a honeymoon, of course you're going to romanticize these things. And I would love to romanticize it, but I don't think I would be happy on a freight car and in some hay or whatever. Um, But of course, I didn't get through Kerouac, and I think they cited that too. I don't know if that's me. Maybe I could give it another try, but but I just think that the romantic travel is appealing to me, even though, like Liz is saying, it wasn't all romantic and beautiful. Though some of the scenery, it sounds like, didn't they describe, or well, in one of the sides, they described something as like Disney-esque, and here's the little deer coming, or Bambi, which I thought was very beautiful sounding.
I mean, I do think when you travel in that type of situation, you're more likely to see the stuff that you don't necessarily see when you're like paying to travel. You know, you get probably like a more authentic experience of, you know, something about the world.
I had done some hard traveling when I was younger, and it was very romantic, and you could see all these like beautiful things and appreciate the scenery and little magical moments because it was pre-cell phone. But now that I am older, I could not possibly do this train hop and sleeping on a rock sort of thing. And the whole honeymoon aspect is really cool. I mean, God, what an amazing married couple. So like you want to spend your honeymoon after eloping, hopping trains. That's pretty romantic, and the fact that they like stuck through it, going through all that crazy stuff. But also like, yeah, Ziola was alone, but then she met somebody just randomly, and they sort of traveled together like in a group. But there was like this romance blooming between the two of them, and I thought that was really it was really sweet. I don't know how that turned out. I can't wait for part two to see if it developed further, but yeah, I don't know. It's very romantic and sweet zine, whether it's traveling or relationships and traveling with other folks.
The part with Ziola, like, um, yeah, she sort of like finds somebody, and then there's some like sexy time, romantic hookup, and you kind of see it coming, but you don't know if it's gonna come. And then she's like, "Oh yeah," and then we were together, and we were alone, and so yeah, there does end up being some romance in in that half too.
I I am also impressed by like how uh both of these people just came clean about like here are the illicit things that I did. You know what I mean? And like laying it all out. Like I can really appreciate that because I definitely feel like I don't know about you guys, but there's a certain persona that I take on when I write that even though like yes, I am writing from a first person perspective, like there's certain things that I'm like I don't know if I would like admit blah 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 thing to the world, you know? Like I woke up and my pants were around my ankles or you know whatever. You know, it's like wow, like that is brave. That is brave.
Yeah, I feel like I definitely would self-censor some things because who knows, maybe your relatives reading this.
I would love to for them to do like a, you know, what, 40 years, 30 years later, like 25, 30 years later, like, you know, is Jessica still married? Yeah, like all like answering all those questions, or like maybe they could revisit the path that they were on and like, you know, what is that experience like in 2025?
Yeah, I wish there was a "Where Are They Now" in it because I'm curious about that too. And also when I read about them traveling, I imagined them on a little map, like "Doot, doot, doot, doot." Here's their little marching ant line around where they were headed. And also, how do you know? I mean, maybe now you might know if you have your phone or something. Well, how do you know where this train is going? I think I was confused. Like, are you really going to North Carolina now?
That's one of the great mysteries of train hopping, that train hoppers just get it, and like us non-train hoppers, like every train's going somewhere and somehow they know. And so I think when you go train hopping, you got to go with someone that's been there, done that, because who knows what train you're jumping onto.
I've never been train hopping. I've known a lot of train hoppers. Um, They do not share their secrets with me. I know that freight train cars get cracked open sometimes and people steal the crap that's on them. And if you know a good set of train tracks and you like to wander along them, sometimes you'll find treasures in the bushes, stuff that people don't want to take with them, so they just discard them, and that's for you to take. That's all I really know about train hopping and train life.
Also, okay, maybe they explained this and I just totally missed it, but like, are the doors just unlocked? Like, do you just like they don't lock the car that has the hay in it? Whatever.
Yeah, I wondered that too because they must be open and they kept saying freight train. So would that just be a flatbed? But then they talked about a cubby in one that they slept in to keep dry. So I'm not sure how I imagined it one way, but it might be very different in real life. So I'm not sure. I need a visual.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping that that would be explained to me. But I also felt so square while I was reading it. Like, you know, like surely this has been answered somewhere else. I mean, I wasn't curious enough to go online and figure it out. Or it didn't occur to me, actually, it didn't occur to me to go online and figure this out. But also, like, I feel like I've read other things about train hopping and nobody's ever answered this for me before.
think there's probably a lot of different types of cars, and everything has something different, and maybe some are locked and some aren't. And a train car is going to have 100 different cars, right? So you got to find the right one, and I think that's part of like when they're like watching the bush, it's like, oh, here comes one, we're going to get that one, and I think that's part of the challenge is you got to get the right one. Missy, a little bit ago, you talked about the little dotted line following him around the map. Let's talk about geography a little bit. Yard Wide Yarns takes place in Pacific Northwest, and then this one kind of takes place in the South, down in Memphis and Atlanta. Um, have any of you been in the Missy? You've got some experience in the South. Did you know of any of these places they were talking to, or did you relate to some of the stories?
I knew of Atlanta because that's where I'm at. So I kind of imagined that, but I wasn't here in the 90s, so it was probably quite different. I thought they mentioned some places in maybe North Carolina that I was sort of familiar with. But I read them so close to each other, I think I kept mixing who was who in my mind. And my geography probably isn't the greatest, really. But yeah, and Pacific Northwest, I've been a couple times, but I don't think I've been to any of the places except for Seattle. Oh, maybe they mentioned Olympia. I was there once too. So I did imagine my limited knowledge of these places.
It felt like very like all there's all these similarities and then there's all these differences. And to me, the weather and the environment was one of the differences of the Jessica's side just felt very wet, felt very cold, and then Ziola's side felt very like hot and sweaty, very like southern humidity kind of feel. There was some line in there about like, and we were just walking through 110% humidity. It was like walking into a wall over and over or something like that. And I'm like, oh, I've felt that humidity once or twice, and that sucks. That must be a terrible time to be walking around without a shower and without clean clothes.
Yeah, I feel like that this is the kind of activity that you just have to make peace with, like, yeah, a lot of the time, you know, we might not encounter facilities where we'll have a ability to be clean. We may end up sleeping in a place that's damp, cold, dark, and not particularly comfortable. You just it's like you have to grow this sort of like traveling thick skull, which I will never have because I'm a baby.
Yes, me too. At this point, I did some traveling recently, but it was in a car and we had navigation and there were guaranteed stops for the restroom and food and there was eventually a shower and a bed at the end of it. And I was still a massive wiener about it. So all this hard travel that these ladies did, ugh, my respect.
Yeah, it seemed quite rustic where they were at times, at the whole time, I guess. I don't know if I would be interested in it, though I've done some traveling, but nothing as adventurous as this. Maybe some of it is adventurous to me that I've done. But even now, like getting me to go out on a weeknight is like pulling teeth. So,
I can relate to that, yes.
Yeah, definitely.
Along with the adventure of just train hopping in the 90s, it also, the people are like younger, they're in their 20s, and so there's also like a youthful energy, like a young energy.
Yeah, I definitely feel like I would love to know if these women like look back on that and think like I could never do that at the age that I am now. Like I would be very curious, And also like, when we're younger, we might be a little less hip to the dangers that this kind of situation could be like, or like you're hip to it, but you don't care, or you have more courage or more brave or whatever. Like, I wonder if they look back on it and say, like, that was a little dangerous. I mean, I wonder if that was a good idea or not. I mean, I'm sure they look back on it fondly and all that stuff, but like the nanny in me, the adult Scrooge in me, the adult baby is sort of curious. Like if I had done that in my 20s, if I would look back on it with a different perspective now.
Crystal, I feel like I should ask you what you think of that because I recently did an interview with you talking about your writing of when you were younger and all the ill-advised actions you took as a young one.
Yeah, I think when you're young and invincible and you're gonna live forever and you know everything, you don't think about the dangerous stuff like running into the wrong kind of person or the wrong situation. Although in Yard Wide Yarns, Jessica Joy did mention at the end there was like a rumor about the train yard killer, the serial killer that was going around and like offing people and she was like having some thoughts like could it be this person? Are they going to find us when we're sleeping? So that's a fun little element of excitement where you are thinking about your mortality, whereas in other parts of the scene from both of the authors, they're not really like thinking about the future too much. They're just, all right, whatever happens, happens. Wherever this train takes us, that's the next destination.
Crystal, when you were younger and you were having adventures, were you hitchhiking?
I did a little bit. Um, it's just meeting random people in Texas and catching rides to here or there. Not a lot, not as much as these guys did and other people I've known. I would never do that again. I only did it because my mom told me in the 70s she had been doing some hitchhiking, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's cool. That sounds safe. That's fine. Um, it was not. So I don't recommend it to anybody of any age.
Are there any particular scenes from either side that stuck with you that you really remember after reading?
Mine was, I think, when they said they were just going through pure wilderness and no town, because riding the train, I would think, would take you to places where you couldn't even go by car or except for maybe hiking, I don't know. I think some of that. I think some of the was it like a punk show and punk parties, like meeting all the punk people at some of the other places they went to seemed kind of fun, like going to a divey bar or whatever. Felt very cool to me too.
I really liked when there was like an admission of I just left everything behind and decided to go where this took me, where the adventure was going. Um, and there was a moment where one of them, Jayola, said, like, I decided to just let this be what it was going to be. And like, I kind of feel like you got to be zen about this kind of experience. And that's like exactly like, that's the way that you keep the narrative going. Like, I have to imagine that these women knew they were eventually going to write about it, you know? And so if in the back of your mind, you know that you're that type of person, then you have to sort of surrender to the experience. And I appreciated that.
I really loved how both of them encountered just some of the kindest people on their trip who did whatever they could or offered whatever they had. Like, yeah, let me give you a ride to the house and you can use my telephone. Or, hey, come to this diner and I'll feed all you guys. Or we'll go to the thrift store and I'll get you some clean clothes. Just those little acts of kindness, like, kind of gives me hope. Like, I know there are people who still exist like that out in the world, and man, talk about being right place, right time when you throw caution to the wind and you walk on the wild side and just say whatever happens, happens. And then you just meet these wonderful people who are like, oh, you're traveling, you're on your way to New Orleans. Well, come over to my place and you can have a shower. That's just so awesome. And I think that was my favorite part about both of these scenes is, yeah, I want more kindness like that in my life. And whenever I encounter people, I'll try and do the same and give them whatever I've got to make their little adventure and traveling a little bit easier.
I've always been curious about train hopping and I've always wanted to, and I just never have. And I think I would do very well with the dirty, tough, rough conditions, but it's just never happened. So I'm like, I feel like, hey, thanks for train hopping so I don't have to. Like, I can still find out what it's like, even if I
Yep.
didn't have the firsthand
There's
experience. I
still
haven't,
time.
well, I don't know about that. I think in my 20s I could have had a very similar experience, but now in my 40s, probably reading about it is enough. So,
Bravo. Thanks for publishing, ladies. Thank you for sharing your experience.
I'm ready to read the follow-ups too to see where are they now or what happened
Yes.
between now, this zine and the next one.
Yeah, I can't wait for the next for the part two from both of them.
well, thank you so much to Crystal, Liz, and Missy for participating in this discussion. I appreciate it. I know everyone out there appreciates it. Thank you to you at home watching the video on your phone, on your computer. Yard Wide Yarns, number 24, and brush your teeth with whiskey. Check it out. Links in the description of where you can buy this awesome zine. Thank you. Take care, everybody.